There's your tweet.
I think we're live.
Oh, we live.
We live, according to the tweet.
Well, hello.
I usually just I know you're new to this, Nate, but I usually like wait and see for like one viewer just to make it worth it, you know. Just
is Casey logged on yet?
Yeah, basically, we're just waiting for Casey. So once she tunes in, we'll fire it up, fellas. I'm playing. All right, hey, we're here. It's 2018. Welcome to the first edition of this year of the open bar from Fake Pigskin. I don't know what else to say, so I'm gonna pass it over to you, J Mike, because I'm honestly just ready for 2018. How you feeling, dude?
Duval. Let's go.
Yes, sir. Can we get that out of the way? Can we get that out of the way that we're here? I don't even feel great that it was against the Bills. And did you see the spread? It was 8 points.
Stinking points.
I don't see why it was an 8-point spread.
So, it doesn't count then. If you guys didn't cover, it doesn't count.
Exactly. No, you know what's funny is I was watching the game with my wife, and they were up 10-3, and I was like, so they have to score 2 points for us to actually win, or else it's. She totally bought it, and then by the end of the game, she was like, "Oh no." She thought it was over. In her heart, she's crying, but we're good.
I thought they were shooting for 8 points total between the teams scored.
That's true.
That's what they were going for a while there.
That's true.
It was ugly.
Well, let me introduce y'all. We'll stop talking about the Jaguars here. Again, we're at the open bar live every Tuesday, not every Tuesday, but things happen, holidays happen, and off season has now happened. So we'll figure out a schedule and we'll definitely let you know. But we're here Tuesdays, 9:30 Eastern, doing our thing. We've got a few guests tonight.
We do. Hey, Gabe, I'm sorry, real quick.
No.
Happy New Year, everybody. I mean, we skipped Christmas. We skipped Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, New Year's Eve, Festivus. Shout out to Falafel House. Yeah, Festivus for the rest of us.
Yeah.
And happy 2018 to everyone. Gabe and I have been gearing this up for a while in terms of making sure we come back well. Yeah. Making sure we come back in this well. And so we're thrilled to be here. So we can't think of a better way of kicking off 2018 than with the homies that we have on. So sorry, Gabe, I had to get that out of the way.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. And we've been, Keaton, we've been talking about this for a long time. I mean, I asked you in like week 2, I was like, look, we got to do a crossover episode. It needs to happen. The fans are waiting for it. I mean, everyone was asking me about it. It was basically kind of like, what's a good crossover back in the day? Like Friends and Frasier or something? Is that, I don't know.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah,
Okay.
that works for me.
Sure. But whatever. So
I'm Chandler. Can I be Chandler?
I shouldn't have said anything because I don't want to get on a Friends tangent because I'm not a fan.
No.
So
You're Ross. You're Ross. Then you're such a Ross.
No,
You're the monkey.
it. This is my least favorite. Oh my God.
I figured.
Okay. Stop.
Gabe is
and
Phoebe,
show's over.
Crossover episode.
Gabe is Phoebe if we're drawing Friends reference.
Nice.
All right, that was fun while it lasted, guys. You guys have a great night.
All right.
Open bar.
I can really tell that
Fantasy
you guys
Phil.
have put a lot of effort into this new podcast over here at Pigskin, and really appreciate you guys bringing us on. And I can tell you've been working hard because J Mike still got his Christmas tree up in the background. He hasn't had time to take that down. He's been working so hard.
As you well know, Dinley, this life of 30, aka married with children.
Yeah, that's right.
There is no such thing as days off. It doesn't happen.
He only knows it. He knows it for like a week. He just turned 30. He's a baby 30.
And he almost died of the 30-year flu.
Yeah, that is true. We were talking about that.
I was really worried about you there for a second.
Dude, I was really worried. I was thinking that maybe like everybody over the age of 30 has been replaced by robots or something, and that everybody just dies at 30. And like I was sure that's what happens because I turned 30 and about died last week. It was awful.
I mean, you technically don't know what happens past 30. Like, sure, people above 30 could be telling you, yeah, you'll be fine. But yeah, they're robots, they're robots telling you this. So
that is true. I mean, I am in fact a robot. But the good news is I built myself. So that's
Ooh-wee.
I'm one of the advanced. Yeah, I'm a robot.
Do you have a manual for that, or a build yourself for dummies type of deal?
No, because I can't give out my secrets of how I built myself because I don't want anyone else to replicate me.
Oh, so this would be like iRobot, where like you're the only person and it's just a bunch of zombies trying to eat you.
Something like that, right?
Okay, great. So you're Will Smith. This is great. I didn't know.
I think it's I Am Legend. I think you're getting your bad Will Smith movies mixed up.
I think you're exactly right, Dinley.
Oh man, I was really hoping we could not mention Bright in this episode, but okay.
What? You just went ahead and did that.
You did.
Well, you started naming
and you didn't want to
bad Will Smith movies, and
you didn't want to talk about Friends either. Yet you brought that up too.
That's true. That's a good point. You know what? Need to do better hosting. And speaking of, I like legitimately did not really introduce y'all yet. Fantasy Tilt podcast, Keaton Denley, Nate Hamilton, the two co-hosts over there. Great redraft podcast. Are y'all all wrapped up, or are you still doing things? Hashtag doing things.
Shout out to Gut Feels.
Yeah, we're still hashtag doing things. We were weekly during the regular season. I think we're going to try to keep pretty close to that. We'll be on when things happen, but we're going to be like off next week and just kind of taking some time in the off season. I've got a baby due in a month, so there will be a little bit of a layoff for that. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, shoot, take your Christmas tree down while you're at it.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
And congratulations. Good old Den.
We will be recording tomorrow night, though. Tomorrow night we are recording. So we have an episode this week, taking next week off, like Keaton said, and we're just gonna, jump on as soon as any big news breaks, or if we come up with any ideas of what to talk about in the off season, then we'll jump on and record a podcast. But for now, we'll be kind of dispersed out.
I'm just ready to mock draft, guys. Like, just get me in and redraft mock drafts. Just ready to go. we ought to do one. We'll do a top 10 or something between us 5. And speaking of our 5th guest, finally to have you on, like clear as day, dude.
Yes.
So hyped to finally get you here, man, and ready to roll. And you can finally speak to all the Peebles. Is Dwight. What's up, man?
What's up, man? How you guys doing?
Happy to have you.
At DJ's first.
Dude.
Yep, that's it. Yeah, I need a better Twitter handle. Sorry, guys. I don't know. You guys had me off of the 30-year-old talk and stuff. I'm way past that. I don't even remember 30 anymore, man. Jeez. You guys are going, and I'm like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. So.
Yeah, Dwight, you really need a more creative Twitter handle. Like at Keaton Denley is like top shelf creative.
So creative. It's unbelievable.
I looked into changing it. I don't know if it's worth it. Nah.
What is it? DJs?
One of mine?
DJs first?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was after my DJ company, and then my Twitter account took a whole nother life. So
right.
I don't do the tweeting as a DJ. I tweet as a fantasy football idiot. So, yep.
No, you can change your handle, right?
Yeah,
and
something like
keep your followers, I believe.
You gotta like forward it to your old one, and it just sounds like a nightmare.
Do you want to make a bet right now to motivate you a little bit or something? Just make a bet for these games this weekend. You can take the Steelers and I'll take the Jaguars.
I would gladly take that. Can I take that? I'm rooting for you guys, but I don't think it's gonna happen.
I know, I'm so scared. Hey, Mike, I'm so scared.
Hey, 30-9 happened. You can't take that away from us. That happened.
Yeah.
5 picks.
I'm sure they're gonna remember it too. So yeah, it's not gonna be pretty. I have a feeling.
Fournette with the exclamation point. That happened. That's all I'm saying.
I hope so, guys. I hope so.
That line is 7.5, by the way.
Oh.
Okay. Right on. Well, the Bills was 8, and I was surprised by that one. So we'll see, I suppose. The playoffs are upon us. We're headed into the divisional round this weekend, and I don't know. It feels like a weird playoffs set this year. And I was really rooting for the Rams and Todd Gurley. Gross.
You know, the biggest problem with the playoffs this year is not only did we lose Carson Wentz, right? So like one of the number one seeds feels like they're gone, like just wiped off the slate. And then like the Titans and the Bills got in somehow. And like that shouldn't have happened. I mean, the Bills were actively trying to not be in the playoffs. Starting Nathan Peterman against the Chargers, who were their like wild card competition, and taking an intentional loss. Like, it just feels like there were two teams that just didn't want to be there at all. And then one of them fucking won. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss on this new channel. But for the Titans to advance, it feels like we're losing another game out of the slate that doesn't really matter. Like, that's just frustrating.
Yeah, Patriots, Titans. I mean, it's a wrap.
Ugh. Yeah.
But you know, there is what's the decent game? We've got
Carolina,
what do you think about the Vikings? Is the Vikings?
Oh, no, Vikings.
Saints that's probably the kind of the bigger matchup of the weekend to me. Or
it's the one I want to see. Yeah, most.
So weird teams. Both of those teams are really weird because the Saints.
It's the Sunday games though is going to be good.
Yeah. The Saints been carried by carries all year as opposed to Drew Brees. I mean, he's still there and really good and stuff, but and then obviously what aforementioned with the Vikings that Case Keenum's running. Case Keenum's running the team, and that's just interesting altogether to me. So matchup of the week for me.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not too excited at all about the other two games. I mean, Atlanta and Philly could still be a pretty good game. I think Philly's getting kind of wrote off, and I don't think they're just going to roll over by any means. I definitely see it depends on what Foles does, you know. I mean, he's definitely shown in the past that he's capable of being a decent quarterback. So I don't know, everybody's writing them off.
Who's the second string there?
Yeah, I couldn't even tell you, man. No idea.
Yeah, his name is Nick Foles. His name is Nick Foles. That's who the second string is.
Right.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Playing.
They just put that kid in a game last week. What is his name?
Oh, you're right.
It's not Chase. No, he's a
no. It's a rookie. Oh my gosh, what is that dude's name?
Eagles QB. Where are you at? Who are you?
J Mike's usually all over this. Come on, man.
I know.
What? I don't even understand
J
what
Mike,
you're
we're doing
asking.
a podcast right now.
I'm trying
We're actually talking about the NFC East, your favorite, and it's.
No, I was trying to get this crazy link stuff together for.
No, it's Nate
channel.
Sudfeld is the backup to Foles.
Sudfeld.
Beautiful.
Great name. Great name.
I mean, it's
That's a
his first name.
That's a new team for old Nate, isn't it?
I don't know.
What's that? What'd you say?
I remember he was like a 5th, 6th something round pick, wasn't he?
He's actually a second-year player. Yeah, I did say he was a rookie.
Yeah.
He is not a rookie.
Yeah, I was going to say that's got to be his second team. Here we are on the open bar from Fake Pigskin talking about Nate Sudfeld. So any Nate Sudfeld takes, go ahead and fire them up, and we will take them and talk about them because
we need a cricket sound effect. Come on.
28.
Episode ever.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Can we not talk about that game? Can we move to the one that's a lot more interesting in Saints, Minnesota?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Okay. So obviously Minnesota, I would say has as good a chance, if not anybody in the NFC, to actually get to the Super Bowl. We've got what I find to be an incredibly interesting matchup. Drew Brees, Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, choose your Kamara wisely. Mark Ingram versus the Vikings absolutely studly defense. Do you guys seriously think the Saints are going to go to Minnesota and pull this one off?
I don't. I think
so. I don't think so.
Yeah, the matchup I'm more interested in is the other side of the ball,
right?
Being Marshawn Lattimore and who he draws between Diggs and Thielen. I think that's really what I want to see, because the other one I think is going to have to win the game for the Vikings and could win the game for the Vikings. But I'm interested to see how that part shakes out, because I feel like the Saints are going to get theirs. You know, there's Michael Thomas in the passing game. There's both running backs are going to get their touches. But the Vikings seem to kind of shift back and forth. They have these two guys, and it's been Thielen a lot, but it could just as easily be Diggs or Rudolph getting involved. And where the Vikings go on offense, I think, will be really interesting.
Tyler. Oh my gosh. So of course, as you all know, or maybe this is the first time that you've joined us, and if you are, thank you for joining us. So we're live here on the YouTube chat. We've got a lot of fun going on in here. We've got a lot of the normal suspects now. Tyler Gunther, DHH _Gunth on Twitter. Excuse me, no, he's DHH _Tyler now, right?
He changes it so much. Tyler, get your shit together, man.
Of Dynasty Happy Hour fame. The man, he just said this about you, Keaton. He said, why does Keaton look like a terrorist with that Allen jersey?
A terrorist?
The white, yeah, I get it. It's the white sheet thing, you know. It's the whole.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Oh, like you're being backed by Al Qaeda.
Wait, you're supposed to do these videos on YouTube, right? Isn't that where you're supposed to post these things?
That is correct.
That's good for the acoustics, man. We're not judging you. That's okay.
It looks
How did
great.
you get that to hang on the sheet? Come on now.
Right. It's actually not a sheet.
I see it every week.
The wall of my tent from the Sahara or wherever the hell.
I see it every week. It doesn't fade me whatsoever.
I get it. So you won't be the one wearing that tonight. Okay. Interesting. Interesting.
Thank you, Tyler, for taking this context where he's gone.
Tyler, go away. He's been harassing me all day.
That's good. That's too good. I'm sorry. I saw that. I just lost it. Oh, hashtag not professional podcasters.
No.
Okay.
100% no. Well, the Diggs and Thielen debate is where we left off. Any other words to be said there?
For me, I'll go ahead and say that the reason I don't see the Saints, and I'm not saying it can't happen, because for me, they have a more balanced offense. Obviously, they've got the dual attack in the running game, and Drew Brees and his various weapons that he uses with Ted Ginn in the deep game. Michael Thomas is top target. So they scare me, obviously, on offense, and I don't think any defensive matchup kind of scares me with the Saints. So that's why I could see that happening. The reason where I'm kind of leaning on the Vikings, because I think they're a more balanced team all around, offense and defense, even with Case Keenum in there, because he's done very well. He's not some Joe Schmo, Nathan Peterman backup. He's done well. He continues to win games for the Vikings, and obviously Thielen and Diggs. I just married them together, Thielen. So you get these two on the field. You can't. Yeah, that was the delayed reaction there. And
robot.
Yeah,
exactly. He's a robot, dude. I'm telling you.
Robot Nate.
Nate. Dude. Give us Nate back.
Nate, you're
Davis Murray, who can pound it
a little choppy, bro.
Yeah, we can barely hear you, Nate. It's getting pretty choppy on the connection. But we heard
unbelievable hashtag analysis as well.
Sure.
hot fire you had going.
We couldn't hear it, but I'm sure your take was so hot it just scorched our connection. That's what happened.
I can hear it.
Oh, okay.
Good.
I can see McKinnon having a big role against the Saints. Yeah.
Before we completely leave Diggs Thielen, just quick question: if they do bring back, if the Vikings do bring back Case Keenum,
right?
Which is the Vikings receiver that you'd rather have, regardless of price? Who's the Vikings receiver you'd rather have going into next year, Diggs or Thielen?
Diggs.
He's like
23.
Yeah.
He's like
I'd
23.
rather have Thielen, be honest with you, because I feel like Diggs is the promise that people keep making, and it just isn't happening. I know we get these flashes here and there of him being great, but I mean, you saw those flashes from Keelan Cole too. Like, Diggs hasn't done anything that Keelan Cole didn't do. So I feel like I've seen more sustained success from Thielen. And I'm sort of getting sick of the young receivers that are supposed to pan out. There's the Devontae Parkers, the Amari Coopers, the Stephon Diggs. I need to see sustained production from these guys before I'm all in, ready to go with Diggs. And I still think you can get Thielen for a quarter on the dollar compared to Diggs. So I would definitely want Thielen. I know the question was sort of, regardless of value, but I mean, you can get in on Thielen so much cheaper than you can get in on Diggs.
And that's the really interesting thing you brought up, Keaton, is the fact that I think this year was more pronounced than I think many others. All, like you said, the promise that doesn't quite live up to the billing. So we keep getting shown these flashes of like, man, Diggs can be a top 5 overall wide receiver. Like, he's got the skills, he's always open, his hands, speed, blah blah. And now he's hurt. Devontae Parker, he's got the skill set and this and there's nothing, and he gets hurt. And Amari Cooper
can be here, like as shown here. Like, eventually, these young guys who are hurt all the time can put it together for 16 games, and then they're a top 3 receiver. I just want to see it. I need to see it first from Diggs, and I just haven't.
I can see that, but I can also see Diggs' price going down quite a bit over the season. He's not going to go 3rd round anymore, 4th round, wherever he was going last offseason. And whereas Thielen's definitely got more value, and people see that, and he's going to go higher. I bet they'll be really close in ADP this offseason. I bet it'll be very, very close.
So you're going with Diggs, Dwight?
I think so. If Bridgewater comes back and is a quarterback, didn't he tend to favor Diggs more? I can't remember for some reason. I feel like it's been so long since Bridgewater's been quarterback. I don't know if he's even going to get it back. It's hard to say.
Thielen. I don't even think Thielen wasn't even receiving targets from Bridgewater, right?
Jumped off is when Bridgewater was in. Yeah. To be fair, with their ADP currently, Diggs looks like a mid-second, and Thielen kind of the end of the 3rd. So hardly even a discount for Thielen at this point. I mean,
he's getting up there then. Yeah. And are those, is that redraft or dynasty that you're looking at?
That's dynasty. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's pretty high for Thielen.
Drafts going, Keaton,
yeah, especially at his age. That's surprising.
Yeah, I was very surprised.
We'll say that if the ADP isn't much different, then I'll lean Diggs because
Nate. No. Robot Nate cannot do this. Gabe, kick him out. Nate, you're gonna have to rejoin and get your crap together.
This is bold.
Damn.
Wow.
Win a playoff game.
This is like the first time that J Mike's ever been aggressive on the podcast.
This is 2018. I got a new microphone courtesy of Gabe. We will not have this garbage robot mess from Nate. He's too good of an analyst, too good of a fantasy producer of content for this robot mess to go on.
Jaguars won a playoff game, damn it.
Yeah, and the Jaguars won a playoff game behind Blake Bortles.
Yeah.
No, we can't stand for this. Gabe,
I'm dropping off.
And bring him back.
Right. Come back, Nate.
Bye, Nate.
I can't. I'm getting something to drink. This is crazy.
Bye, J Mike.
J Mike's on the fantasy tilt now. What the hell?
Yeah, J Mike is tilted for sure. I love it.
Wow.
My connection better now?
No, it's not at all. It sounds it's worse.
Freaking it's worse.
Hoofda.
So, hey, but between the 3 of us that are remaining on here, and while we're talking about young receivers who have all this promise, I'm wondering what Gabe and Dwight, what you feel about or how you feel about Devontae Adams. I know that he's a really popular name. He's got the double-digit touchdowns in back-to-back seasons, and people are very excited because he just signed the long-term deal. Are you guys all in on Devontae Adams, or would you be willing to take him in the 2nd round?
We're still talking dynasty.
We can do dynasty or redraft. I think he's going to go. He might be in that late second conversation, even in redraft.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, it's so hard to even like consider redraft right now, but yeah, I think you're right. I think it's kind of a somewhat rare case, and that the dynasty ADP and redraft ADP is going to be pretty similar. But yeah, I mean, you're going to have the best quarterback in the league still there, not going anywhere, and arguably going to be his top target. It's not going to be Randall Cobb. He never has been. People wanted him to be, and he never was. He's definitely a great complementary piece, but he can't be the number one guy. And people were sweating that when Rodgers was out, what's going to happen? It seems like all the Packers wide receivers die, and they typically do, but just one did, and it was Jordy, and Devontae Adams lit it up. So, yeah, I'm kind of buying, to be honest, and I kind of weird for me to be saying it, but end of the second, early third for a guy who's had, two back-to-back top 15 seasons, along with half of a season that was without Aaron Rodgers is pretty darn impressive. And he seems to have cleared his mind as far as drops and whatnot that kind of hurt him in his earlier years. One thing that I would be a bit nervous about, and always something to consider in dynasty, is concussions. That's always been a worry for me with DeAndre Hopkins, as much as I love him. I mean, he actually has had a lot of concussions. So, he could be 2 or 3 away from being out of the league, and same, maybe even less with Devontae Adams. He seems to have had a lot in the past few years. So, dynasty still in it, and redraft for sure.
Right. I'll agree. I don't know if I'm buying. I don't know. It's a personal thing. He burned me really bad a couple years ago, that year when he did drop a lot, and I just am hesitant. I think he's still touchdown dependent, and he'll be all right. I'm not buying him, but just a personal thing.
The reason I brought it up is this is one of the players that I've been most conflicted on this season, because I was the chairman of the Devontae Adams Stinks fan club. Like,
oh yeah.
I was running this committee like for years, and I didn't feel like he was a good receiver. I really dug into his film in the last off season, and I saw some things I liked. There was just some inconsistency that I didn't, I wasn't quite there yet on him. I needed him to be more mature as a route runner, to be more aggressive at the point of attack. And he does it sometimes, and that's what's really frustrating with him, and like kind of what we were talking about with Diggs, where you see those flashes and you want it to be a full-time thing. But what I thought was interesting here is I was pulling up, I actually had Landry and Devontae Adams stats side by side. They've both been in the league for 4 seasons. They're the same age. Devontae Adams has 163 fewer catches, 1,200 fewer yards, and only 4 more touchdowns than Jarvis Landry. And I don't think Landry's getting the respect that Adams gets, because Adams plays with, Aaron Rodgers. But Landry's been doing more with considerably less at quarterback. I mean, he had backup quarterbacks all last season. He had Jay Cutler and backups this year. And I just don't know that Landry's getting the same respect as Adams. I don't know if just because he's a smaller guy, if he runs shorter routes, if people, the aesthetics of wearing a Packers jersey, if that does enough for people to like really get them excited about it. But I mean, what do you guys think of that comparison? Is Landry just a slot guy that people are writing off, or
let me jump in?
Why is...
And I got to
test
my connection. If you guys can hear me, we good?
You sound lovely, Nate.
Better, yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, as soon as I make an awesome point, that's what it's going to cut out. So what I'll say about Jarvis Landry is he led the league this year in receptions with 112, but he managed to stay under 1,000 yards receiving. So I don't know how that's possible. And he doesn't score many touchdowns either. So, I think that's the biggest hit on him, is that he doesn't do much with his receptions and his targets. So in PPR, he's great. He's a monster.
He's awesome.
But if you're playing him in standard, man, he'll kill you every time, because he just catches the ball for, a few yards at most. He doesn't have that big play.
Well, now, Nate, though, Landry is averaging more than 1,000 yards and 5.5 touchdowns per season for 4 years. I mean, those are pretty good numbers.
It's decent, but that number is pretty low, though. If you're talking about the amount of receptions he gets, 5 touchdowns. I mean, I think that's what's killing him because, you know, the leader in touchdowns this year, DeAndre Hopkins, had 13. Next best was 9, and a bunch of others with 9, 8, 7. You know, that's I'll take it. That's more. That's a lot more than 5. You know, so again, I think that's what's really killing him. Yeah, love it because he's leading the league in receptions and he's been up there the last few years, but I think that's really what's hindering him.
One thing to keep in mind too with the stats that you were giving, Keaton, which was great stuff. The fact that gets lost in that is that Jarvis Landry has, and I just looked it up on Pro Football Reference, has 172 more targets over those 4 seasons than Davante Adams. So he's getting the opportunities, and like you're saying, for what Landry doesn't have at quarterback per se, at like Davante Adams would, he's getting made up for with the fact that he's being force fed. Period. And so I think that it's a combination of both things. I think it's that yes, Jarvis Landry does not get the credit that he deserves because I feel like a lot of people continue to trash him. But at the same time, I think Davante Adams is on the verge, specifically with the contract that he just got. And I don't want to be crutchy about the argument, but as Chris Harris would put, but the opportunity looks really bright for him to be able to be a featured portion of that Packers offense with obviously the first or second best quarterback in the league. So that's a really interesting give and take that you have with those guys. And with Landry going into free agency, it's up in the air as to how that lands, but that's super, super interesting. That take there. Oh, and shout out to the guys from Married to the Game, because they were talking about Jarvis Landry being in that phylum, if you will, of the crossing route crushers, if you will. That's what they were talking through. Just those guys that you can get the ball to within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage, and they're going to make things happen. The Diggs of the world, Golden Tate, even Brandon Cooks could be put in that because he wasn't so much used on the bombs as much as he was for Breeze. So yeah, that's interesting. And I don't know who I take between those two because I think they're both fantastic players.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to bash Davante Adams anymore. I mean, I've been firmly in that camp in the past, but I wasn't trying to make that argument there. But I just think the two are more similar in their production and their opportunities than people. It seems like Davante Adams just has a way higher people have a way higher opinion of him than Landry, who's just a slot receiver. So I just thought it was an interesting comparison between the two.
No doubt.
I think it might just be I think it just might be the ceiling between Adams and Landry. Like Landry's so safe and going to be that like 3rd round, 4th round guy, like every single year. You can get that wide receiver 2 production and be fine with it. But Adams, kind of alluding to what Dwight said, touchdown dependent, maybe, sure, but that's kind of your upside in most cases. So that's where you can have a wide receiver 1 consistently from week to week. And that's the gap isn't even that huge. I mean, they're about 10 picks apart, at least in Dynasty ADP. So that's probably your difference there, is that there's probably a bit more upside with the offense that he's in, with the scoring ability that he has over Landry. That's so
Gabe, do you think that Davante Adams then could finish as a top 4 receiver next season? Sure. That's where Landry was this year. He was top 5 in PPR. So I mean, when you talk about ceiling, I mean, Landry's been a top 5 receiver, and I know Adams has finished as a wide receiver 2 couple of years, or wide receiver 1 couple of years in a row, but it's been 10, 12, and that more in that range.
Yeah. And Jordy's been up there and had his top 5 seasons as well. So I mean, you can argue the case that it's finally time for Davante Adams to step in and take over that role. Maybe.
Could be.
I would say it is, just because, the thing with Davante Adams is that, Jordy Nelson has been the guy there, and even Randall Cobb to some extent. And Davante Adams was like the 3rd option for Rodgers. Cobb's kind of fading out. Jordy Nelson always hurt, man. He's always getting hurt. He's very old. So he seems like a very old guy, because of his injuries, and he is much older than Davante Adams. So I do think its share is shifting. And with Aaron Rodgers thrown to you, I think that spells success for Davante Adams. So he's a little bit more exciting to me as an option. If we're not talking about specific format, I'll take Davante Adams.
I think that, like you just said, he's got that quote unquote sex appeal, right? Jarvis Landry's the vegetables you don't want but you need because they make you healthy and strong. Yeah. but you're not really worried about it. What's going to be really interesting is if Landry lands somewhere with any semblance of a dynamic passing offense. My goodness, will his ADP? Well, maybe it won't. Maybe people will disrespect it, but I think it could be a possibility his ADP goes through the roof, through the absolute roof. Like put him with Cousins wherever. Like, or just anybody of that ilk. I think it's going to be so interesting.
Bortles.
I do want to say this. Real quick. Sorry. I got to say that because Keaton did bring up that Jarvis Landry was number 4 in PPR, and let's be fair though, he was number 14 in standard, which was actually Davante Adams. Davante Adams finished as the 12th best wide receiver in standard leagues. So that's kind of where 16. That's what I was. Exactly. So that's what I was talking about earlier with my concerns with him. Volume, not the targets, not the receptions. It's what else he can do. Receptions.
Yeah, that's certainly a fair point. My counterpoint would be nobody plays standard, so nobody cares.
That's such a cop-out. I knew you were going to say it too.
That's good. Oh gosh,
People might be playing in first down leagues though. First down leagues.
It's old school to do standard.
Robot Nate's on the way back.
Yeah, he's coming back.
You got to be kidding me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you're back.
I wish I was. I
hate you guys.
What do we do?
Disconnect and come back.
Okay, disconnect and come back, please.
No, come on. Is it that bad?
Yeah, it's that bad. Again, Nate.
You're gonna watch this on YouTube later, and you'll be like, "Daggone, it was really that bad."
See, this is what happens when the evil internet companies start slowing down our speeds and stuff, and Nate
net
started
neutrality.
To suffer from that.
Yes, Dynasty Frank. Yes, exactly.
I spent too much time with Dynasty Frank. Is rubbing off on me.
Yeah.
I think Dwight sort of passed along his sickness of whatever was going on with his microphone for all these months. And Nate, it's all you now, bud.
That's what it is.
I still you guys can't hear me at all.
We can hear you.
Oh, he's laughing. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just super choppy, Nate.
Crackly.
I will be back.
In the first down leagues, for all you people out there playing in first down leagues, the 720 of you and Scott Fish, Davante Adams finished ahead of Jarvis Landry. So without playing a week 16, just saying.
just in case you're keeping count, guys.
Yep.
The best availability though, or the best ability is availability, right?
Amen. Tell it. Wow. Can we, unless you guys want to do something else, I want to play a quick game of,
yeah, let's do it.
And this isn't really quick. And Gabe, if you don't want to go this direction, we don't have to. Can we play, and this might be a little early, I don't care, quarterback musical chairs?
Yes, I have no idea how to play quarterback musical chairs.
Sounds fun.
No. It's not really all that thrilling. I just want to be able to talk through I just want to be able to talk through these guys who are could be moving in the offseason, and where could you see them going somewhere to thrive? That's all it is. I'm going to tell you a quarterback. You tell me a place where he could land or maybe even should land to maximize his value for fantasy specifically. Can we do that?
Sure. Yeah, let's do it.
Fantastic.
Of course, J-Mike.
First on the docket, Mr. Alex Smith.
Minnesota.
Of
Arizona.
Of Kansas City lore.
I want him to land in Minnesota. I think that the Vikings have seen enough and they know what Bridgewater is I don't think that he has made the recovery. It's a feel-good story for Bridgewater to come back in the league and be great. But if we're honest with ourselves, Bridgewater wasn't great before he got hurt and then spent over a year away from football. I think that's a defense that's ready to win right now. They've got the weapons on offense. All they need is a guy who can get in there and do half of what Alex Smith did this year. Look at Case Keenum is getting that team, to the number 2 seed in the NFC. I think that if the Vikings had Alex Smith, all it would cost them is maybe, if it was a second round pick to get him. I don't know what their cap situation is, but man, Alex Smith in Minnesota, that team would be scary.
That's one I haven't heard.
I'm very surprised to hear that take, Keaton. Like, are you okay?
Am I okay? No, I'm very feverish still, I think, from last week. But if you look at Minnesota's quarterback situation, I mean, are they really going to say Case Keenum's our guy going into next season? I don't think that they will. I think they're going to look to bring in somebody. And if it's Alex Smith, if he's really going to be available for trade, I don't see why Minnesota wouldn't go down that road. At least think about it.
But could it be
like such an infection?
I just find it interesting though. Like after they just 2 seasons ago, or was it last season where they traded for Sam Bradford? Do you see them going to trade for a veteran again, giving up another pick to be able to do so? I guess with a win now team like they have, with a defense like they have, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I just think that if this team, we'll see how they do in the playoffs. I mean, maybe they just steamroll and on their home field advantage here and win the Super Bowl, and then they're feeling great about it. But if they go out there this week and get beat by 23 points by the Saints because they can't muster enough offense, I think they're going to start getting impatient just like they did. I mean, this is the same ownership group and GM, that got impatient and gave up way too much for Sam Bradford. I don't think that they would necessarily get off that track. And Alex Smith is a much safer prospect or a quarterback than Bradford was. I mean, they got Bradford knowing it was a project. They basically panicked when Bridgewater went down. They've got a lot more time to think about this one. I think that it's something they could consider. It is a long shot. I don't think that that's a guaranteed spot. But you said, where would I like him to land for fantasy purposes? It's got to be Minnesota.
That's a good one. I hadn't heard that one. I like that.
I agree. Very good.
Nate, just because you're back, are you robot Nate or are you actually Nate?
I don't know, man. I'm afraid to talk.
Yes, you're back.
You get, am I good?
Yes.
I don't know if should I adjust my bandwidth so I'm using less? Like, I don't know.
Look, man,
whatever you can hear me though, right?
Whatever you got to do to keep the robot away, I'm good.
I'll just keep shutting off and coming back on, man. This just
every 10 minutes.
That seems to be working. Why not?
My router screwed up. Let me just unplug it 30 seconds later to plug it back in. So Nate, just to give you a quick heads up, we're playing quarterback musical chairs. So we're talking about guys who could be free agents next year and where they'll land or where you'd like to see them land. So the first guy was Alex Smith, and Denley hit us with the good old Minnesota Vikings.
I like that take though. I mean, I was with you guys with, wow, I was kind of blown away by it because I didn't even think of that or wasn't even, it didn't even cross my mind that would be a place that he can land. But he laid it out beautifully. Good job, Keaton. And you kind of sold me on it. So I could easily see them doing that. John, you brought up a good point though of how they went ahead and got Sam Bradford. Are they really going to want to do that again? With Alex Smith, how old is he? He's 33?
Alex Smith is 33. Older? Yes, sir.
33. Okay. So I'm with you on that concern. Part of it is, do they want to really go after another veteran or are they going to go with somebody younger?
That would just be really, and here's the other thing. That would just be really weird if they have all 3 of those guys in-house and let all 3 of them walk in some form or fashion, right? Like that would be, for as successful as they've been, and I don't know the coordinator situation and all this other stuff, but that would just be really interesting to bring in Alex Smith and let all 3 of those other guys walk. Teddy, 2 gloves, Teddy, Sammy Biscuits.
Teddy 2 gloves.
My bad. Teddy 2 gloves.
Teddy? What is that?
Oh, I'm sorry, because Teddy 2 gloves makes so much more sense.
Killing baseballs.
Good grief. You took my fantastic point and just took
Yeah, see,
fiery dump on it.
I just got to protect him, man.
Anybody else want to chime in with Alex Smith before we move to the next guy?
Well, I will say
I'm just
real
wondering
quick.
if we should play Vikings QB musical chairs as opposed to.
Well, here's the thing. It's not about just letting those guys walk and clearing house. Sam Bradford's a free agent. Case Keenum's a free agent.
Yeah.
All they have is Bridgewater, and that's got to be terrifying as a franchise unless they've seen something that we haven't seen. So it's not about letting those guys walk. If you think Case Keenum is going to accept another deal where he's going to get paid, $3 million a year or something after the year he's had, I think that you're sorely mistaken. The Browns will go and give him 18.
No doubt. No doubt.
Yeah, if they go a different direction, Alex Smith is almost the only option that makes sense. So I hadn't even thought of that. Great point.
Just to frame that, Alex Smith, he has an out after this season. Looks like if they cut him, they'd only have $3.6 million in dead cap. Just give you a heads up. Yeah, he only has one season left on his deal. Yeah, that's a wrap.
It's Mahomes time.
Fire up your Patty Mahomes.
Mahomes.
Sorry, so John, I didn't want to ruin your game there. I'm sure that we're going to get to Cousins and some more interesting guys than Alex Smith.
No, you're fine. Because I think Gabe wanted to stay in. He wanted to stay in Minnesota. Do you want to do that, Gabe?
I was just joking because it's funny that all three, like what you said, all three QBs might leave, and they'll be great backup QBs somewhere. We can play QB. We can play QB musical chairs. That like the second row on the outside, like fighting between AJ McCarron and.
You can't play
the
with
Lions
us
need
here.
another backup.
Is this like the equivalent to like at a family reunion where you have the kids table?
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Exactly. That's great. Yeah.
Very good. All right. Fair enough.
Well, Case Keenum might leave with Pat Shurmur, right? So they're apparently hand in hand looking for a new offense to take over Case Keenum and Pat Shurmur.
Taking over the world. Taking over the world.
No, keep going with QBs, Jake.
All right. Next guy on the docket here. One Mr. Tyrod Taylor of Baltimore backup fame, formerly of Virginia Tech, most recently backup to Nathan Peterman.
Goodness.
Tyrod Taylor. Where would you guys like to see Tyrod Taylor? And again, just to frame the argument, he only has 1 year left on his deal. However, Buffalo has an out after this year where if they get rid of him, there's $8.6 million in dead cap.
Oh, that doesn't sound like much of an out.
Which is still pretty substantial. But they have Nathan Peterman. Okay. I mean, Nathan Peterman has shown the ability to complete passes to the other team.
The other team. Yeah. Very good.
I mean, it's factual.
Man.
I have never been a fan of Tyrod Taylor, and I will say that I think that I would like to see him probably working at a Chili's somewhere. Because I just think that'd be kind of cool. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you're Tyrod Taylor. Can I get a picture? But other than that, man, I don't want to see him playing football. He drives me nuts. Like the thing about, because we're in fantasy football and he's hashtag good at fantasy sometimes. He's just he's a horrible back. And I've had this debate with many people so many times, and I wrote an article about how bad he is and all the stats that point to how bad he is. I don't want to see him playing football anymore. I'm done with Tyrod Taylor. He's done.
Wow, the disrespect. Oh.
Done. See, this is actually Robot Nate still here in disguise. Right. Heartless, just brutal, savage, ripping apart Tyrod.
At least you can hear me.
Disguised his voice and everything. That was good. That was good. Robot Nate, you're turd.
The craziest take I saw on Tyrod is someone suggested him in Denver. It was an article I read yesterday.
I'm just looking at that.
Put him in Denver. Like,
who wrote that?
I don't know, man.
I
should have taken it down. That's crazy.
Right? Nate Hamilton?
I thought you said you were
no.
My bad.
I was just gonna say it wasn't me because that actually requires him playing football. So
it was Nick Hamilton, Robot Nate.
Yeah.
Hey, Nate just wants him like at your local Waffle House at 3 a.m. Let me get them smothered, covered in chunk, player. Thank you.
I don't know. Let me see if I can find it. That was nuts.
I'm going to start a parody account.
The Tyrod Taylor thing is...
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, so Tyrod Taylor is amazing story there because it almost feels like the Mark Ingram thing in New Orleans. Like, whose daughter did he like not call back? Like, what happened with the GM in Buffalo that they just hate him so much and that they would just want to get him out of town without any legitimate backup plan? I mean, Nathan Peterman is not ready. He may be at some point, but he's not going to be ready in 2018. And for them to just try to get Tyrod Taylor out the door for nothing is shocking to me.
Like, they willfully decided, hey, we're okay not making the playoffs as long as it's not Tyrod starting at quarterback. Like, what? What?
They don't hate Tyrod that much because they let him play. Okay. I think they like him more than Cleveland likes DeShone Kizer, which they've screwed up that rookie big time.
I don't know.
Putting him in and taking him out.
I don't know if I can stand for all this Tyrod slander. This is hard, Nate. Dang.
Yeah. Well, then how about?
Come on, give me something.
How good is Jackson?
You never, even on Fantasy Tilt, I don't hear you slander anybody like this. You're always kind, these gentle tilts, and then like Tyrod Taylor.
All my hot takes were taken away earlier from my whatever bad connection I had, so I'm like on fire now.
Yeah, Tyler,
and it's at Tyrod
on the YouTube chat. Tyler suggests that you are actually Nathan Peterman in disguise.
He might be.
Actually.
Can't confirm or deny that report. Yeah.
Hashtag facts. All right. What do you guys think about Tyrod? Anybody else? Or should we move on since he won't be in the league next year?
Tell you what I think about Tyrod. I'm going to tell you right now.
Yeah, now Nate's going to tell us what he really thinks.
Yeah.
No, what do you actually think? I made a personal bet with a Bills fan for the recent onslaught of the Jaguars, and this fan was very unhappy about good old Ty God all season, and I think a lot of the Bills Mafia is pretty upset. So I mean, of course, everyone hates their quarterback, but I kind of side with them a little bit. It's just there's just no consistency with him, and it just feels so like college-esque in a way that it's like that he's not an amazing passer and that he keeps games alive just on the ground, and that like you could get it's like the Alabama game last night. Like Tyrod is why is his name escaping me? The Alabama Hurts, yeah, that was taken out, and then Sua comes in with an actual arm, so not exactly the same, understandably so, but I don't know. I think Tyrod would be a great backup quarterback, much like the 3 QBs in Minnesota.
That fan base in Buffalo is so upset that they are going out, buying tables, lighting them on fire, and choke slamming each other through them rather than watch these games. Like they're doing this in the parking lot.
That was before the game.
They do that when they win too, though. It's crazy.
You know what that's from, right? Back in like the 70s when someone went through a table of some sort. I don't know. Bill's Mafia history out here.
They are crazy, man.
Yeah. No, they never forget.
Bill's Mafia.
Right, so
Bill's Mafia. We don't want that kind of problems. Okay, it's all love. It's all love. No. Look, I live in Cincinnati. It's like we're besties right now. We're good. Andy Dalton and we're good.
That's right. Get that Dalton love.
All right. So anybody else want to chime in? I've got a few interesting thoughts on here. Looks like Tyler's thinking he might go to the Jets while Lamar Jackson sits out a year. So basically, the Jets draft Lamar Jackson.
The Jets, I didn't even think about, but that is interesting. I don't hate the Jets if they miss out on a big quarterback in the draft or one in free agency. That's interesting.
Okay, and Rob Iman hits us with he thinks that Tyrod's going to back up Phillip Rivers in Los Angeles. So I guess he's taking over for Cardale Jones.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Backup sounds good.
Unless you're Nate, in which case you want him out of the league.
I'm telling you, man, it's important to have a backup quarterback in the NFL, like a decent, good backup quarterback in the NFL these days. And
yeah,
I would totally take Tyrod in Los Angeles with kind of an aging Phillip Rivers, even though he's like never missed a game like Eli.
Well, since Volek left town, since Billy Volek's been gone, I mean the Chargers have been looking and they've been trying to bring in somebody else.
Billy Volek.
And they haven't found that guy. So I don't hate that either. I just don't think that Tyrod's going to turn down a starting opportunity to be a backup. I mean, you'd have to have so many opportunities fall through for him to accept a backup to somebody who he's not going to, usurp in the offseason.
So where's he going, Keaton? Where's he going?
I don't hate the Jets. I mean, I think he should be back in Buffalo, honestly. Like, I don't think Tyrod's bad.
Probably.
But I think the Jets is at least interesting.
D-Bro, what up? Welcome to the chat. Derek Brown says the Browns. What about the Browns?
No, they need a guy through the draft. I mean, they just need to stick with what they're doing.
All right, let's move on to another guy, unless anybody else wants to disparage. Any closing words on Tyrod, Nate, before we move on?
Yeah.
One more jab.
No, that's
yeah.
I've exhausted my comments on Tyrod. Let's move on.
How about Dallas?
No, this is totally Mortal Kombat. Finish him.
Finish him.
Fatality.
He's like this. He's like,
yeah, he's wobbly and stuff, and you about to knock his head off to hell or something crazy. Oh gosh, that's morbid. All right, moving on. So, moving on to our next contestant in the quarterback free agent musical chairs. Maybe the belle of the ball, if you will. We'll go on and get to it. Mr. Kirk, holla at your boy Cousins. You like that? You like that? Formerly of Michigan State, currently of Bruce Allen's Boo Thing, Washington professional football team. Kirk Cousins, perhaps the best free agent quarterback since insert name.
Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning. Great call.
Probably.
Great call. Great call. Where would you guys like to see Kirk Cousins of air yards fame?
Jacksonville.
All those, y'all hear that in the ether? All those weapons, Mickens, go, Lee.
I think that if you're Cousins and you're looking at this situation, Cousins wants to be in Denver. I think if you really step back and look at where he wants to go, I mean, that seems like a good situation for him. I think that Washington get the money, though. Nuts for playing this game, though. To let him go.
I feel like a lot of people really like Denver, and shout out to the homies in the Kamikaze League. They talk about this. We talk about this a lot. Denver, whatever their cap situation is, and I'm not going to look it up real fast. It's not great, so they have to do a lot of work in terms of cutting folks to get. Because right now, like this past season, Kirk Cousins just made $24 million. So, and I have no idea, but I'm sure Lynch and Simeon don't even equal 1/12 of that, probably. So. Right. I don't hate that. That would be really, really great to see Demaryius and Emmanuel Sanders with a competent quarterback. That would be wonderful. but yeah, what else? What else, guys? What do you guys think? And sorry, Keaton, I don't want you to feel like I was poo-pooing your point. That was totally
and that's not where I think he's going to go. But I think that if Cousins isn't going to get record-breaking money, right. if he wants to win, I think that's where he needs to go. If he's just going to take money, he could be going to the Browns, or somewhere like that. But if you're Cousins, I don't know that that's the route you want to go. And maybe he is just after the money. He says he's willing to stay in Washington for another $30 million for a year. Maybe he's just chasing money. I'm not in the guy's head.
Yeah, that's always a tough situation to read. To me, he seems more like a guy that's ready to transition into a situation to win, almost immediately. And I think Denver could be a place like that for a couple of years with, Demaryius and Emmanuel Sanders. They're getting up there in age, but I think they're still relevant enough and young enough to put up another good year. And they'd sure appreciate a guy like Cousins to come.
Oh, yeah. They'd love him.
For sure. Maybe even Buffalo. Maybe they bail on Tyrod and
I think I would like to see Kirk Cousins working at like a Chili's somewhere.
Damn.
Just kidding. So all serious, all kidding aside. So I will say this about Kirk Cousins is he probably is the number one person in Jimmy Garoppolo's hate fanship, if that's a thing, because he totally screwed his freaking plan to go with Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco. So I think right now that just screwed up everything, and that's where he was supposed to go, and now it's just like this. I think he's going to the highest bidder, to be honest, because the deal he was presented in Washington, which would have given him, I think, the most guaranteed money of all time. For him to turn that down, he's looking for the biggest paycheck he could possibly get. So I think that's where he'll end up, and I don't think it matters what the team is.
For some strange reason, I just have the picture of was it Dr. Claw on Inspector Gadget as like Kirk Cousins, and he's sitting there and like he watches Garoppolo, which is Gadget, just totally screw him. I'll get you, Garoppolo. Yes.
Yes, nice.
I'll get you.
I love it, John. Love it.
Oh my gosh. Like it's like, yeah, I think you're that Nate, that's as money as it gets. That he totally was ready, and everybody and their mom was ready to marry the 49ers and Kirk Cousins. And then that happens. Yes, Derek petting his cat. Yes, Kirk Cousins probably has a cat. What do you think, Dwight? Kirk Cousins got a home for him?
If not Denver, I like Arizona, but I don't know what'll happen now with Arians being gone. I think if Arians would have stayed, that would have drawn him there. I was just looking at their cap situation; it's not particularly great. 10 million free, but they also had Carson and Palmer under for 20. So I don't know how that shakes out in the whole NFL picture. You know, I don't understand all that. You know how much they still. Huh?
The fun part of this podcast is the fact that we get to choose where these people go. So whether it's semi-realistic or not, you just tell me what you love.
Yeah, we get to choose. We make the rules.
Yeah, I think Denver ideally, but I also like Arizona too. I definitely think that Fitzgerald would, he's there for another year. I think they've got a team that could potentially win now. And I don't know what he would think beyond that. Like, I don't know if they could throw up that type of money, but Denver, idealistically, I think. But most likely, I think he ends up back in Washington. I don't see him going anywhere. So,
what about as opposed to the Minnesota take with Alex Smith and Kirk Cousins in Minnesota? Just I have no idea what the situation is money wise there, if that they could afford anything like that, but to slide in and have Thielen and Diggs and Cook and Rudolph, I mean,
and a nasty defense.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Heavy on the case. Bye Keenum.
Hey, you might have to chill out with that, because in the chat enters our homie himself, Jake Anderson. So he might be having a stroke.
Yeah, he's probably in the corner doing something.
You say he's having a stroke or he is stroking.
Oh, Kirk Cousins.
What up, Jake?
Hey, so I've got the salary cap situation for 2018 here for teams with the most space, and just kind of going down this list, the Vikings actually do have a lot of money next year.
Wow.
We've got the 49ers have the most, then it's Browns, Colts, Jets, Bucks, Texans, Vikings, Titans, Redskins. So you look at that list of who would be in the market for maybe a big contract to a quarterback. I mean, you have Browns, Jets, Vikings, and Redskins. So as possible landing spots of teams that could shell out some serious money for a quarterback. I mean, Vikings is not out of the question.
Yeah.
No. I've got some really interesting ones here in the chat. I want us to toss back and forth, because this is fun. They were talking, and somebody threw out, obviously, again, for the Jets. What about Cousins to the Jets? Because they've got a ton of money, right? They were on that list, Keaton? Or no?
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
Yeah, they are.
Gross.
You don't like that?
No.
Okay.
Not for him.
Cousins.
I just think it's fun for like Robbie Anderson and well, maybe that's about it. Never
ASJ.
mind. ASJ, right? Another one. What happens if Big Ben leaves and he goes to Pittsburgh?
I mean, you could say that the Steelers have no money.
I mean, but yeah, I was gonna say Bell would have to leave, obviously, and they can't have two tag players like that.
Yeah, they would have to lose Ben and Bell to have a shot at that. They are the lowest team as far as cap money that isn't in the red. The Eagles and the Chiefs are in the red, and then it's the Steelers. They have about $2 million in cap space as it stands.
Wow.
And that's without Bell's contract on the books already. So, I mean, they would have to have Big Ben retire. We'll see how that goes.
What happens? So just to confirm, Washington can't franchise him again, or can they?
They can for $30 million.
Yep, you can franchise a QB as many years in a row as you want. You just still have to keep paying.
Oh, wow.
It goes up by like 20% every time. So they're looking at about $30 million.
So here's what I've learned: is every free agent quarterback is going to the Jets. They're going to Jets.
Yeah.
Is that? Am I getting that right?
Just not Tyrod.
Well, no, he's going to Chili's. I told you.
Baby back
Chili's in New
ribs.
York, though.
Well, New Jersey. It would be New Jersey if he wants to be close to the stadium.
So the Broncos cap situation, because we were talking about the Broncos not having any money, they're kind of actually in the middle of the road as far as cap space. Obviously the 49ers at the top have $115 million in cap, which is an ungodly number. And then the Broncos being in that 16th range, they have about $27 million next season. So they do have space to bring in somebody on a big contract, but that would basically be their offseason. That would cost them just about all of it.
Mm. Denley, while you're looking at that, can you check on the Jaguars?
Yeah, the
asking for a friend.
Asking for a friend. The Jaguars have about 17.5 million next season. That puts them in the bottom 10. Looks like bottom 12.
Defense, man, it pays.
Yeah.
They're sticking with Blake Bortles. Didn't you guys know that?
Yeah.
Stop.
That was the latest I read.
I mean, it's probably the truth, but I don't want to hear it. I want to dream. Let me dream.
Not to.
Hey, guess what? He scored one more touchdown.
They're gone. They're gone after this year too. They could.
Yeah.
How bad do you think Blake Bortles
gone.
was last game? How bad do you guys think Blake Bortles was last game?
Not good. Hashtag not good.
He had more rushing.
He scored one more. He scored one more touchdown than Tyrod Taylor.
Oh, yeah.
He's like he like looked on the field at one point and saw Tyrod like running or something. And he's like,
I can do that.
I can do that.
I will say one thing about the quarterbacks from this last weekend. The gutty performances from some of the winning quarterbacks. You saw Marcus Mariota get out there and not play like a sissy quarterback. In Bortles, as much as people like to give him crap about being a quarterback, he cared about his team and he put himself on the line to win that game. And we need more of that from the quarterback position. There's too many of these guys like Eli Manning and Tom Brady who somebody gets within 5 yards and they just lay down. I want a guy on my team who's going to be fighting for those extra yards and throwing blocks and doing everything in their power to win those games. And those two teams, the Titans and the Jags, don't win those games without those quarterbacks giving everything they have as an athlete, not just as a quarterback.
But it's so much more fun to make fun of them. Why
man? Yeah, good point. Nick.
You're saying such nice things, Keaton. Let's we could be a little mean.
I have to even out. Normally, you're the guy who says nice things, but you're like being an asshole tonight. So I got nice.
Full tilt is my connection. It's the whole connection thing.
Now, when Keaton admits it, that's when you know it's bad, Nate. We're outsiders, right? We just on the outside looking in. He's with you every week. And if I notice and he notices it, this might have to turn into an intervention. We might have to stop.
Did this become an intervention?
No, I need to get it out of my system so that way I'm back to norm for our recording tomorrow.
Oh, so you were a guest on our pod for the first time and you want to act like a total jerk.
I'm gonna throw up on Keaton. Absolutely.
Wow. Okay.
Keaton, if you ever need him to go on tilt, just mention Tyrod Taylor and watch him go, man.
You know his trigger words.
Exactly.
The suit shows
the safe
up.
word now.
as Tyler says, the suit shows up.
Yeah.
Gabe, where we at on time?
I don't know. I lost track 2 years ago.
We're like an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, we're about hour 15 or so.
Okay, so let's get out with this. In terms of quarterback carousel, last one I want to throw out. Just if you had your choice, again, it's likely he stays home. Mr. Jimmy, don't let him marry your daughter Garoppolo. Because I swear,
I hope he does stay.
I swear this dude looks like the type that would literally, just like Tom Brady style, marry your daughter and dump her for a supermodel. Right? Like I would have to find him and beat the brakes off of him. That's just where I see that. I'm sorry.
How does that translate into the NFL? I'm just curious. Like, where does that put him?
To make a long story short, shout out to the Dynasty Dads who had a poll up. They had they were giving out their awards, and one of the things they put out on Twitter: who would you let your daughter marry? And the list was Jimmy G, Odell Beckham, no thanks, Christian McCaffrey, or Deshaun Watson. And I said, I could totally see Jimmy G doing that. So no, he can't marry my daughter. Keep him away from my daughter. I will shoot him.
I voted for McCaffrey. Yeah.
So anyway, that's where that came from, Nate. I'm sorry. It was random. I apologize.
I'm just curious where it's going.
That's where
everybody wants Jimmy GQ to stay in San Francisco except Kirk Cousins. Is that
I agree?
Actual?
Yes, that sounds good. That sounds about right. And I will say this: I think Jimmy G should be working at like a Bertucci's somewhere because it's a better restaurant. It's much.
What is that? That sounds so New Hampshire. Like I don't even know what that is.
It's Bertucci's.
Yeah.
Hey, could you, Nate? I have an article idea for you for all 32 NFL QBs. What restaurant would they work at?
Make it happen,
dude. I have
half
that already. I already wrote like half of it. Yeah, I already got it done.
Yeah, we've actually got Bortles at Applebee's already locked in, ready to go.
I agree.
Blake Bortles at your neighborhood bar and grill. All right.
What's a high-end place over in Jacksonville? Give me one of those. That's where Jimmy G is going to work.
Oh gosh,
he'll be the master chef there.
Maybe one of these Jeff Ruby steakhouses,
Wolfgang Puck's or something.
Yeah,
Wolfgang Puck. There you go.
Something
there you go.
Yeah. All right, that's all I got, Gabe.
All right. Well, if you need a place for Dak, Whataburger's hiring.
As long as it's good food, man, I'm going. I'll be there.
Ethered. I love Whataburger, man. All right, let's get out of here. This has been fun, man. The crossover episode between the Open Bar, featuring the Fantasy Tilt Pod and the Peebs himself, the People's Champ,
not to be confused with pubes
or Plebe.
or plebes, yes.
Yeah, stay away, please. All right.
Well, I just got to say this before we head out of here. Is I brought the tilt to this podcast. I had to represent what our fancy tilt is. So I was tilting all night. So I brought it to the table.
Yes. Before you say your piece about your pod, I'll say your piece about the pod. Go check out the pod. It's fun. They get tilted. Not so much Nate, but he has to come on the show, our show, to tilt here. But tilting does exist. We promise. No, it's a great show. Check that out for redraft, and maybe they'll include you on their next mock draft for the 2018 season. Who knows?
Hey.
At Fantasy Tilt Pod, at Dominate FF.
That's correct.
At the suit. No. Try again.
The suit. That should be it. I can change my Twitter handle, right? It's not too late. I can be at the suit.
You can do it.
I'm sure that's taken, but I hope it's not.
Or if we keep it with Tyler, at Al Qaeda's suit.
Oh, great.
No, sorry. No, for real, he's at Keaton Denley, Denlay.
Yeah, you too. We'll let you close on your own. We seem to know everything about you, but feel free to say some words on your own, Nate and Keaton, and we'll close you out on that note.
Robot Nate, you got anything to add?
Well, I'm hoping that I'm not Robot Nate anymore. I will say that thank you guys for having us on, and I'd love to do this again. Maybe we have you guys on as a guest on our show, so that'd be a lot of fun. Really hate Tyrod Taylor that much, so I'm sticking to my guns on that. But I do not normally tilt this much, so I don't know what's going on. But I think I gotta, get it out of my system, so I'm not so tilted for tomorrow's recording.
Before we pass
but
it
thanks
off,
for having us on.
Yeah, before we pass it off to Dwight here, I do want to say, just, if you have any of those bad beats or things that happen in fantasy football or regular life, just use the hashtag fantasy tilt. We'll read those on the podcast. It's been a lot of fun doing the listener tilts on our pod. So hashtag fantasy tilt. You can at fantasy tilt pod. We love sharing in your guys' stories and what makes you guys tilted. So make sure you send those in.
Lovely. Dwight, say some words, man.
Some words. Yeah, make sure you listen to those guys on Tilt. Keaton's one of the good guys. He really knows what he's talking about. One of my favorite guys to follow and listen to. Love him.
San Diego's finest.
I met DJs first. I'm finally starting to write some IDP for Dynasty Happy Hour. So see how that goes. Maybe it'll lead to bigger, better things someday. Who knows? So,
by the way, that first article was fire. I like that a whole lot. Built around, obviously you need linebackers to win, so he highlights some linebackers that you need to be taking advantage of in your IDP league. So good stuff, Dwight, for sure.
Nothing about Tyrod. All right.
And we can find you at the Peebles Champ, right?
You need to get that right now.
Make that happen. I like
that. Fantastic. You have to make that happen.
Dang, Gabe, that was so good. I'm so proud of you. That's my co-host. That's my quarterback.
Nice.
So big.
Come here.
Nailed it.
And with that mic drop, we're out.
Yeah, we have to. We have to go, man. That was good.
All right. J. Mike.
I'm weak. That was good.
I'll say something. I'll let you close. It's 2018. I'm at Grab Bag Fantasy. I don't have any. I wish my last name was Peebles. Seriously, I'd be all over it. But we're here every Tuesday. We'll probably kind of do some sort of bi-monthly thing. We play a lot of dynasties, so we'll be talking about playoffs and rookies and all those things. We enjoy all that, and we'll be here. The bar is certainly open. Tuesdays 9:30 Eastern. J. Mike, what else you got to say? Close us out.
Man, on Twitter at the Open Bar FP, as in Fake Pigskin, at the Open Bar FP, at Grab Bag Fantasy, my co-host Gabe Gearing, and I am on Twitter at JMikeCheck, at JMIC and we are truly, truly humbled and thankful that we can even do this. And continue to do this as it goes forward. So we've got some more fun set for you guys in January with some awesome guests. And like you said, as things pop off throughout the season or throughout the off season, you can count on the Open Bar to bring the nonsense, the fun, and the randomness. And probably a little bit less robot Nate and maybe a little bit more actual Nate would be great.
Amen.
With all that said, as my co-host would say, glasses or bottles or cans up.
Yes, sir.
For the people.
Go Saxonville.
Cheers. Hashtag Saxonville. Beat
Come on. Baby.
Pittsburgh. And as my co-host would say, see you guys next time. Deuces.
Deuces.